cheesecake.
Right.
Desserts.
Sonic Cheesecake Blasts.
5 o'clock p.m. Loosen your tie up.
Everyone needs a cheerleader in their life, right? And if you are in the market to buy a new home, no doubt you know it can be a bit of a daunting task. So you need someone to make you feel optimistic, like you can do it, and help you get that dream coming true. Bruce Dodd, one of our favorite cheerleaders. He's with People's Home Equity, and he joins us this morning. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
You are a cheerleader. You make the whole process fun, and I don't think it's very exotic to think about signing a whole lot of documents, but you make it enjoyable.
Well, sometimes we like to say getting a mortgage is not the most pleasurable thing. We try to make it, as pleasurable as possible.
Well, you do, Bruce, because you seem to make it pretty simple and straightforward, and you see all different folks coming into your office, some of whom have got perfect credit scores and are looking ahead to a pretty rosy path. Others who might have a few hurdles to get through, but you help them get through it.
Well, everybody's situation's a little different. And so our approach is we're a little bit more deliberate on the front end than a lot of folks are. So we're going to treat every transaction as if you already are under contract for a house. And we're going to go ahead and get those documents and just make sure that there are no pitfalls anywhere on the horizon.
What do you mean by that? I think you just explained it, but you used the phrase we're a little bit more deliberate. So does that mean that you might ask for more things?
These days, if you're just doing the quick and dirty, hey, I entered a little information in to a website or on my phone and I got this magical letter kicked out to me. The reality is if things seem too easy and too good to be true in life, they typically are. And so the best way that we know how to make sure that you're not going to be faced with any stress on down the road is let's just go ahead and examine everything on the front end. We're going to go ahead and request all of the documents that we need. We're going to go through those, have an underwriter look at them, and we're going to get you ready to go before you even start looking at houses.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about trends right now. I had a conversation with a friend last week. He knows somebody who recently sold their house, and of course it was the typical on the market for a couple of days and bam, it sold. Ended up being $20,000 over the asking price was the final sale. So is that common still, and do homeowners need to be coming into this then with a little bit more of a broad budget?
Absolutely. There are lots of people coming to our area. There's lots of people interested in buying a house, and there's no extra houses on the market. So these days, it's very common for homes to sell for more than they're asking, which is kind of nutty. I mean, normally when somebody gives you a price on something, you pay that price or you want to pay a little less. Now it's sort of like a competition. I think what's important when you're making an offer on a house is that, yes, you may have to pay more than the seller originally asked for it. But I think you want to make sure that what you're doing makes sense. That's why it's super important right now to be working with a realtor that you trust, that's taking a look at comparable sales. It's making sure that that offer you're making is the right offer for you. If somebody wants to pay way too much for a property, you may just need to let them and look for the property that the price is going to make sense for you.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about those comparable sales. And I think I know enough to know that even you can't predict the future and anything can happen in a housing market. But let's say that you're buying a home and it's listed for $320 and you get it for $340. We'll go with that $20,000 over idea. And then 3 years down the road, you get transferred to Albuquerque and you got to sell that house that you purchased for $340. If the comps were there at the time you bought it, are the comps going to be there when you sell it, or are you going to run the risk of being bottom up in your mortgage?
Well, I mean, nobody can predict what's going to happen, specifically to any one property in the future. However, typically you see markets. Our Chattanooga market typically appreciates at 3 to 5% a year. So if you called it 4%, even in a more pedestrian market, not in the crazy market we have right now. But if you look over history, typically we've seen houses appreciate for about 4% a year.
Okay.
Even in the depths of the housing crisis, Yes, if there were extremely expensive luxury homes, yes, some of those lost some in value. However, most properties sort of walk sideways. So even in the worst time in real estate in rememberable history, didn't see big drops. So, excuse me. While it's hard to predict the future, I think housing in Chattanooga has been very, very stable. Yes, it's super go right now, but I don't think we'd see a situation where values are going to walk backwards.
Well, because I think that's what concerns a lot of people. It's that they don't want to make the wrong choice by not buying and having prices continue to go up, but they don't want to lose money at the end of the day either. So getting that reassurance from you, you're seeing it all the time anyway, you would know.
Sure. Well, I'd like to say I know exactly what would happen in the future, and if so, everybody could just make some stock market bets right now, and guys like me wouldn't even be necessary. Everybody just have plenty of money. But I do think that yes, things are busy right now, but it's driven not by some crazy outside factor. It's driven by the fact that there's more people that want to buy than there are people that want to sell. So when markets are driven by supply, often that's a much more healthy situation than if it's driven by some other weird factor.
Okay, let's go back to you. It's been a while since I bought a house, but the appraiser plays a very key role here. You can have all your paperwork drawn up, everything's good to go, then the appraiser can come in and not meet the offer. They could say, no, the home is not valued at this. So does that bring you back to the drawing board, and do you re-enter the conversation if that happens?
Well, what happens if that does take place, then you're going to work with your agent and you're going to go back to the seller and renegotiate at that point. In some circumstances, the seller will just come down to what that appraised value is. In some circumstances, people are paying a little bit more than that. It's kind of a case-by-case situation.
Okay.
One of the things I think is important, though, is when you're making an offer, your agent that you're working with needs to be able to give you some comparable sales that have sold recently, because they all can do that, and say, this is kind of where we think we're going to end up.
Okay, let me bring you back into the equation, then I'll let you get on with your day. In this competitive market, sellers are accustomed now to often getting 3, 4, 10 offers on a home. They're then taxed with which one do I choose. If you can see the mortgage lender for your potential buyer and be reassured that they're going to back up the offer, that's a great comfort. So y'all do that, right?
Absolutely. So what we're doing is we're getting our borrowers totally ready to go. So we're getting all their documents. And then when you make an offer, I'm contacting the agent representing the seller or the listing agent and walking them through the fact that, hey, we've reviewed all the items for the borrower. In a lot of cases, we're already underwritten. And so it's not a situation where we just took a little bit of reported information and we spit out a letter. So the letter that we've written is based on the documents that are going to be necessary for the loan. So typically that gives people a lot more assurance and helps us get more of our clients under contract.
You were on the phone before you and I could talk this morning. Chances are when we hang up or when we're through, you're going to be back on the phone again.
Hope so.
You personally are talking with your clients.
Absolutely.
All right, you can talk to him. You'll talk about more than just the house you're going to buy too. That's my guess. He's a great person to talk to, very easy, makes the whole process simple and fun, believe it or not. It's People's Home Equity on East Brainerd Road. Bruce, I'll let you give the phone number and the website.
423-591-9801 and chat with 2 T's, chatmortgage.com.
Thank you much. We're back after this.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, time for another West Shore home bath transformation. I'm on site today with Kirsten and the crew from West